Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate the movies. I am your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, my good friend, some may know him as Frankie Anselmo. Today, I know him as Frankie Estrella.
Oh, God bless the Pack Theater. God bless Zoom apps. God bless audio podcasts. Thank you so much, man, for being a part of a movie that I hate to love.
Dude,
It's so bad.
this is a movie, Plan 9 from Outer Space is one of those iconic bad movies that when you mention it, it's one of those movies that, like, I truly don't know whether you're coming at it from a position of, like, I hate this movie or I hate this movie. Because there's some movies that are just like that, where, like, it's a movie that is so much fun to talk about how bad it is and to experience how bad it is. What's your take? Give me just right out the gate. What do you think about Plan 9? Where was your first time you ever saw it? How did you feel when you saw it?
I think I saw it the best way. I just got off night shift and it was like 8 a.m. So to me, it was like midnight.
Okay.
And I mean, I was tired, doing night security, and I was already worn out, ready to go to sleep. And it was a lot of people in a lot of places, like even Seinfeld mentioned Plan 9 from Outer Space, the worst movie ever made. But Ed Wood, the movie Ed Wood, everyone should watch this great movie about the director. I believe Tim Burton directed this
Tim
movie.
Burton directed it. And I think Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood.
And he's the most optimistic, happy-go-lucky. It's such a spirited movie, his character, where no matter what, he just has it in him. I'm going to make these movies. And he never want to make a bad one. And I just felt for this character. And then when they're filming Plan 9 from Outer Space, there's so many goofy parts.
Mm-hmm.
As they're filming it, I said, please tell me I can watch this for free somewhere, in the library somewhere. And thank God for YouTube. It was there in color, in Technicolor, which you should watch. I think everyone should watch. And I think from the beginning, I never laughed so hard at an intro where the guy can say, my friends, in the future, are you prepared? And it was like he wanted to make it like a scary sci-fi thing. But the writing from the first two paragraphs or whatever his speech was, you realize this is going to be a really silly movie.
Greetings, my friends. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives.
My friends, we should punish the guilty, reward the innocent. What is he talking about? It makes you intrigued. Like, what are we going in the future somewhere?
The unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable.
That's what caught my eye, where I'm like, this is going to be so bad. Because I saw clips from Ed Wood, what they filmed. This is going to be so ridiculously bad. And I knew who he was because it was a team of dudes, different actors that got together and said, we're going to make movies.
Mm-hmm.
And Hell or High Water. And just watching his take on, like, oh my God, I'm in front of the camera. Oh my God, I'm talking to the camera. And look in his eyes. I'm like, this is so good. And that's what drew me in. And everything else was like, they need to make more movies like this. They need to. And they did in National Lampoons, but they did that purposefully.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is, like, so this movie, for those of you who somehow have completely missed, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know what Plan 9 is, I am shocked. It's a 1959 independent black and white sci-fi horror film, directed and written and produced and edited by Ed Wood. It's got obviously Criswell doing the narration, who's some sort of like a weird psychic, also sort of a preacher. Gregory Walcott, Mona McKinnon, Tor Johnson, Vampira, and Bela Lugosi in his final film. Apparently, he was very good friends with Ed Wood, and they'd shot a bunch of movies together, and none of them ever actually made it to life. Like, I was just reading about this beforehand. He shot a movie with Bela Lugosi that the film stock they shot it on it was stored improperly and it had turned into a toxic sludge and is lost forever.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch Ed Wood, they have that where they met in some movies they made, but I don't think Ed Wood was ever really properly trained to make films.
No, I don't think he was.
Yeah, he was. I know he was in the army, and that he was a secret crossdresser. So nothing against that.
Mhm.
It's just he had such ambition and such a great attitude towards. We're going to make this film. It's going to be beautiful, and the way they portrayed him on Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, you really root for this guy, this sad hero. You know, you really want him to make a movie, but they were well known for some of the worst movies that were made that you couldn't help but laugh at.
Ed Wood is one of those guys who, like, I'm looking, if you look at his history, right, of where he came from, right? He was interested in making movies, but he never had formal training. He This actually is kind of fitting for his career. The first thing, so on his 12th birthday, he got a movie camera. And one of the first things he ever filmed was the Hindenburg before it crashed.
Oh shit! I was like, damn, during the crash? Fuck.
No, before it crashed. But that's the thing. It's like
Wow.
you see, the hopeless crash of Ed Wood's actual career later on
Wow.
is only fitting, given that the first thing he ever filmed was the fucking Hindenburg.
Oh god.
So he came in and he started after he joined the Marines. He joined after Pearl Harbor. He was enlisted during World War II. Then he moved to Hollywood, and he became good friends with Bela Lugosi, which I guess is that friendship is featured in Ed Wood very heavily. Correct? In the movie.
In the movie with Ed Wood, yeah, it was basically like, sadly, I don't know if it's true or fact. At the time, he was going through heroin addiction for Lugosi,
Right. Yeah.
and Ed Wood was kind of his escape, his DDP, if you will, in wrestling, where he pulled him out of it. Says, "You're still an amazing actor. I grew up watching you," and he saw the spirit of how much he loved him through his eyes. And Bela goes, "Okay, I'll do the movies for you," because he needed work. Plus, I guess he needed money for drugs because he ended up ODing on the set when they were filming Plan 9.
What?
Yeah, he died they did a few shots of him, and this is where it gets really, really disgusting in the movie because instead of writing him off because he was supposed to play one of the zombies that got robbed for the grave, because the original title was Grave Robbers from Outer Space, not Plan 9. During the movie Ed Wood, he's like, what do I do? He's part of the movie. He's the old man in the scene with the other zombies, and then some guy walked by, had something over his nose, and just saw his eyes up. He goes, wait a minute, hold that real quick. He's looking at his eyes. He looks just like Bela Lugosi. So you see a guy in a cape just covering his nose and looking over.
Yep.
Halfway, yeah, and that's supposed to be him, another actor, instead of just saying, okay, well, because the character dies anyways.
Right.
In the movie,
he dies, he turns into a skeleton.
And it was the most. I just saw my friend last night from the part I didn't finish because the ending's so boring with the dialogue, but her reactions of how silly, and the editing was so silly, and like, why would they just not, do a little bit more? But it was legit a science lab skeleton on top of a cape.
Yeah. And they use that skeleton multiple times. It's not the only time that skeleton gets on the air. There's a lot of really weird choices that get made in this movie, right? So this is in the 50s, late 50s. The movie is when it finally comes out, but it had been made years prior, and it's so amateur. Like, there's a lot of choices that, at this point, it wasn't Ed Wood's first feature. He directed a bunch of stuff by then, but for him to still be making movies that felt this poorly made and so slapdash is really shocking to me. Because there's scenes where you can see shadows of boom mics, you can see people having the script in their laps. The writing itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It doesn't sound anything how people really talk. It's just baffling.
No, my favorite line, first time I saw it, I felt down laughing and push the pause button when they're hugging and they're looking up to the graveyard because for some reason they live right next door to the graveyard where only the aliens go to that one graveyard.
Right.
The pilot of the movie lives there with his wife, and he says, "I'm worried about you, honey," and she's like, "Oh, don't worry about that. They're over there, and we're over here, and you'll be up there." I'm like,
"What? You'll be up there."
What? Who wrote this script? Like a little kid? It was so.
It's one of those movies. I have this note written down about it specifically. Is that there's a lot of narration at the very beginning of the movie, up until probably like the first third of the movie. You know, you see Criswell's opening sequence, and he keeps calling everybody my friends, and then you see the opening, and the narration kind of continues for a while. You don't need the narration. Like the whole movie basically is, you know how they say in a film and television you're supposed to show and not tell. So this movie does not only does the opposite of that, where it's telling you and showing you. It also shows you at the same time as it's telling you what's going on, but then it tells you too much info about what's going on. And so it doesn't leave you any room as an audience member to kind of figure stuff out on your own. It's spoon feeding it to you, and then it's also making you puke on the spoon.
It's my challenge was I made a drinking game out of the background because you'll see the ambulance come by or the cop car come by. It's daylight, and then the set is dark, and then the grave diggers are daylight, and then the vampira is dark. So the background changes color so much. So you kind of just like blink and you'll miss nothing, but you just see the lighting change. And I try to think of, as I watched it for the second time, I think I saw it 3 times already, but entirely twice, because the second time I watched it, I was like, dude, it's so stupid I can't watch it again.
It's so stupid.
It's so stupid, but you try to figure out who's the best actor out of this horrible script, because they all try, right? And at one point you try to give it to the sergeant, and he's grabbing his gun, he's scratching his head with the pistol.
Oh yeah, they're all scratching. None of these people clearly have ever held guns before. They all are holding their guns, they're scratching their heads, they're pointing their guns at their allies with their fingers on the triggers.
It's just like, it looked like dumb pirates. They look like guys who just, I mean, kudos to them for memorizing their lines, because they did a lot of these scenes in one shot. I could tell.
Yeah.
Especially when all bundled up together like idiots.
I also loved, they keep talking about it's grave robbers from outer space, right? That's the original title of the movie. It's brought up in the intro. But there aren't any actually, like, that's not really what's going on. It's sort of a zombie movie. It's sort of an alien movie. It's like a weird environmentalist kind of movie too, where the aliens are like have this weird message and plan that doesn't really fully come to fruition. It's just a weird fucking. It's so weird. I don't understand how anybody could come up with a plot like this for a movie.
Well, the funny thing you say about the title is that's why Ed Wood made me want to watch this bad movie. He went through a lot of hell trying to get anyone to produce these movies, because they were bomb after bomb after bomb. Mm-hmm. And back then, it's not like you didn't have Twitter, so you couldn't like Google somebody, get all their information that quickly. So he actually got funded by some church, a Christian church, to make this movie.
Yes. Yeah. Baptist preachers. And
they found out the title and they're calling them, or a telegram. You cannot name this movie Grave Robbers from Outer Space. It's blasphemy. And he says, but that's the title of the movie. And then literally, like, that's why the first thing you hear, the Griswold names it Grave Robbers from Outer Space, because they already filmed like 20% of the movie. And they said, okay, let's call it Plan 9 then. Mm-hmm. Let's just change the script. And it was awkward, yet the one plot that made sense was the alien who was the leader, and he's explained scientifically what we're doing. But the props in the back and the stupid little electro stuff, even you can see someone's dresser on the corner where the spaceship's supposed to be. And it destroys the whole fun of like, maybe they are aliens, maybe you're on a spaceship. And the worst part is like halfway through it, you don't understand what they're talking about.
Yeah. Well, because this is, so the whole basic, if we're going to go through like the plot of the movie, right? So it starts out, the pilot in the movie sees a flying saucer after there's some sort of a death. And then the gravediggers show up. They get murdered by Vampiro, who's a zombie. But then it turns out the zombies have been made by aliens. All of the detectives start getting murdered. Inspector Clay, played by Tor Johnson, gets murdered. And then there's the Pentagon people. They're still they start talking about how there's been a secret history of alien encounters.
Don't forget the boom mic. The boom mic that was right in the middle.
Boom mic in the shot. Yeah.
Giant 1950s boom mic was so good.
Well, there's also the part too that really stuck out to me is when they were showing off these bombing campaigns that happen, right? Where they're talking about remember there's the scene where they have. It's clearly stock footage that they got from the army or the military.
Yeah,
or something.
all the missiles launching. Yeah,
right. And it's just, and then it cuts to a backdrop of a guy with binoculars, and he's looking up, and you can clearly see they didn't take time to put any kind of clouds in the background. He's just standing there. They have a shadow on him. You can see the wrinkles in the backdrop because they didn't iron it or steam it out. And then it's right around this time when they start talking about the flying saucer attacks. They destroyed a town. This is one of my favorite lines in the whole movie, is where they say, there was a town of people who died.
Yes, it was a small town, but nonetheless, there were people.
A small town, but it was a town of people who died.
My favorite, there's a lot of favorites, but I think when they said, "Oh, who got Sergeant Clay?" I don't know, but clearly someone got murdered, and also somebody's responsible. It's just the logic of the script. I'm like, what did even the actors, wouldn't they kind of look at the guy and say, "Does that make sense to you?" But no one really wanted to question anything. Just get it done.
That's my biggest question is, why do you think no one wanted to question Ed Wood? Because I haven't seen the movie Ed Wood, so maybe you, as someone who has, maybe you have some insight.
What happened was, of course, he's on a budget. Of course, he's trying to get shit done. And the funniest thing, if you ever watch any highlight from that movie, because I always put it in top 10 worst directors, he's sitting there, and there was another movie, The Big Guy, same actors, by the way, the big guy who was in the movie, was a pro wrestler. Tor. I believe Tor was his name.
Yeah, Tor Johnson.
So I believe in the movie they had George the Animal Steel, a real pro wrestler.
Okay.
And it was really cool. They just went to a wrestling match, picked him up, so he wanted to be a movie star. So in the movie, he played a monster called Lobo. And in the movie, he's walking towards a doorway. But I guess he must be wearing big contacts or something that he can't see shit, because he walks into the doorway jiggles, the whole fucking set jiggles. And then he moves to the side and goes through the right way. Keeps going, one shot. And the guy said, "Cut, beautiful, let's go, move on." And the guy, assistant director said, "Don't you want to take another take?" "No, he's a monster. That's how they walk. They walk into things. Let's go." Yeah. He was basically trying to get it done in one take each, just to kill time, because time was money. At one point, he lost money for footage for the film. Mm-hmm. He couldn't record no more. He got to give money for that. So that's what it really went to shit, where he was the biggest tight director ever, not because he wanted to be a dick. He had to make sure everyone got paid, and he couldn't get things done. Going broke. Each movie, he basically fleshed it all out and never made a dime back, but he was so consistent, so persistent. And that's the thing I got out of the movie Ed Wood. It's keep following your dreams, no matter how bad it is. Because in a way, 60 years later, we're talking about fucking Ed Wood. He's still a fucking household name.
I mean, I wouldn't know about household name. I would say it's very specific houses that he is the household name for. Like my house, your house for sure.
Called classic household name. And it's one of the things you learn from. You learn not to do, but he actually started making, I believe, later on a bunch of nudie movies, like slight porn movies.
Oh, okay.
With the same actors, which he made more money with doing that.
Well,
so he basically, of course, nudity more. But that's name any porn director doesn't have a bad idea, but great making money left and right. So he's basically the beginning of porn. You think about it, bad acting, but hey, get her done.
I could see this easily being a porn too. You can
porn parody.
Yeah, Plan 9 from Outer Space porn. I mean, it's not. It's basically a parody of itself as it is.
It's already called Plan 69 from Outer Space. Come on. As the guy says, my friends, and on top of the table, there's two girls do 69. And he's trying to keep a straight face, looking down. In the future, my God.
I mean, the lead alien's name is Eros. That's the god of love as it is. Can you imagine him? He's got to be fucking all of the aliens and the undead.
They already have like zombie porn anyways, but they're real actors and not dead people dressed as zombies.
I've seen a zombie porn before, and I feel like it had better acting than this did.
You know what? Yeah, because they had to stay in character while getting fucked.
And better makeup. Like, the best part about the makeup for this movie was Tor Johnson's like contact lenses that they put in his eyes to make him look all white. That did blinked. Like 90% of the acting for him.
He never blinked. It was actually it was the dumbest thing about that is that because you couldn't see him, they had to point the gun at him and move him like a doll. Mm-hmm. And like I said, all this shit done in one shot. You could tell because a lot of times it just got awkward. They're out of position. They had to move out the way where they're walking. It's just these actors were, I might tip their hat to them because they just didn't want to do it again or question anything. Get her done, get paid. Mm-hmm. And that's frustrating, man.
There's
frustration.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like with indie filmmakers too, especially. They do it so much for the love of the craft. And if you're going to be somebody who's acting in an independent film and working on an independent film, you have to know that the chances of you making any kind of money off of that are very slim. Mm. I think that he had to cater to his audience, and not just to his audience, but really to his distributors. More so than anything. I mean, that's why they changed the title from Grave Robbers from Outer Space to Plan 9 from Outer Space, even though they never explained what the other 8 plans are going to be. And they just kind of let her ride and see what happens. But they were so worried about offending their Baptist distributors, their Reverend distributors. They were just like, okay, something's going to go wrong. So we got to get something out of here. Just really keep this as vague as possible and inoffensive as possible, even though it's a movie about aliens and zombies and murder.
I just felt bad for the memory of Bela Lugosi because they kept using the same walkthrough over and over when he walked through the trees and shit. And they just redid it, the same footage. And I just thought, this is just weird. Like, you have the power as a director and a writer to change the fucking script as you go, to improvise, or just put that part out. And just to keep that character alive by disgracing it with another actor. It's basically way before Back to the Future 2 when that guy, I think his name was Chris. The guy,
Glover, yeah.
Yeah, way before. They have the new law now, but that's because he passed away. He couldn't sue, or the family couldn't sue.
Right. Well, that's the other thing, too, is like, I didn't even realize this until looking this up, but there's the name for this is apparently, so it's called a fake Shemp, named after Shemp from Three Stooges.
Wow.
Because after Shemp died, they had to finish the parts in these movies, so they had somebody play him in doing the Bela Lugosi thing, where instead of covering up his face with his cape, they had him cover up his face with other stuff, or only see him from behind.
I can see that happening in the 40s and 50s, because due to time restraint and getting someone in, but that's what stagehands are for, I guess. And back then, it's like the show must go on, they say. It's just interesting how they basically pulled. They did make chicken salad out of chicken shit in this movie.
They really did.
They really did. The budget, like we were saying earlier, the budget of this movie must have been maybe, I don't know, 20 grand, 50 grand. Back then, it was a lot of money.
$60,000.
And that's a lot of money back then. But then again, you watch how many times they use the same set, how many times you see the same footage. So I think what they mostly did, because I know it got distributed to theaters, because that's pretty much the end of the movie. The end of the Ed Wood movie is that he gets this huge theater at Plan 9 show. Mm-hmm. And you don't see the end result. He just comes out in his nice limousine with buddies. And he was proud that, wow, my movie is in the marquee,
Yeah. It really, in watching the movie, it does have this feel, too, of like, He's up against the clock. He knows he's about to run out of money, and when the movie finally ends, it just ends. And there's no time for you as an audience member to have like that breathe of the denouement of the story where it's just like, all right, we're gonna let this happen. They defeat the aliens, and then the alien spaceship catches on fire and blows up. While there's also just actors inside next to all of this clearly real fire. Like, it's very unsafe. And then the spaceship blows up, and then it cuts to Criswell being like, well, my friends, those aliens sure were bad human beings, but be careful. The future will see us all annihilated. And then it cuts away. And it feels like as soon as they shot the ending, Ed Wood was like, all right, I have no more time or energy to come up with a way for this movie to make sense. We're getting out of here. We're done.
It's funny. Every time I think of an old-timey movie, flip side's a great movie called Matinee with John Goodman. And it's about the old-timey. You ever seen a movie?
No, never even heard of it.
You must watch. In the 90s it came out. It's about the 50s, and he was a horror director. What's cool about these old-timey movies, if you watch them now, there's a sense of like, not urgency to get the film done, but an urgency to kill the monster. And guess what? The ending, the monster could mimic somebody, or the baby monster was already growing. So by the time the camera moves over to the left of a corner, there's an egg sack of some other monster going to be for the next movie. And it gives us the audience of like, oh, like, I don't know, man. That's creepy because I thought it would end just with that one bad guy. But you realize there's more of them, like critters, gremlins. You think you're done, but you're not done with the monsters. This was kind of like their only defense aliens could fight the humans is to bring back the dead. And the most logical line was like, isn't it interesting, the aliens are talking, that the living who can think are scared of the ones that cannot think, that are already dead. So I thought that's a cool way to kind of have the whole concept for the movie where like they show the humans like, you guys have always been deadheads your whole life. Mm-hmm. That there's more dead out there than you. They could have overran the world like zombie apocalypse. Right. Instead his line was stupid. You stupid humans.
Stupid humans.
So stupid. I'm like, really? You guys are that advanced? You just say stupid? So the script was stupid. And it was just, that's what really upset me where I'm like, you have obviously great actors. They didn't seem like shitty actors, but you had horrible lines for all of them.
Yeah. Even great actors like that couldn't save horrible dialogue. And also, I don't know how good of actors they were. I'm pretty sure they were not good actors.
Completely amazing compared to that movie because the movie itself, the editing, the part that were like the line that Grave Robber says, you hear that? Yeah. I don't like that. Especially no one's supposed to be here. We should be gone. Us too, we should be gone. Well, what?
Yeah. I mean, even the editing is so, you can see the seams. You can see edits where like it's the same static shot and they're having the same conversation. They don't cut away to anything, but all of a sudden the movie will cut and the camera will be moved a little bit and the actress will be in a different place. And it's the same conversation continuing from the exact same spot, but that still happens. Why? Why is it happening like that? Why didn't you just keep your camera in the same fucking place, Ed?
The worst editing was when the guy was getting rejected by the stewardess. And for some reason, they could tell they edit completely what they were saying. By the way, how about that date? Yeah, sure, you're on. I'm like, wait, you're being rejected 5 seconds ago.
Oh, yeah.
And now it just changed to, I'll see you. First, it's like she has a curfew. Like, oh, don't you know at 9 o'clock, 9 a.m., the bars start? Yeah, we'll have something to do. Better luck next time. It edits really weird. How about that date? Yeah, you're on. It was just a weird.
There's so many lines that you can tell like they're being delivered. They did ADR and the actors weren't saying those lines on camera or anything close to those lines. Like they're barely hiding their mouths and still saying stuff. It's just crazy. But here's the other thing that's even like the crazier thing to me is that this movie, so it's regarded as being one of the worst films in the entire history of cinema, right?
Yeah.
However, it has a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Because you must watch it to believe what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Like, it's watchable. It's not like it's just somebody filming a tree for 2 hours. It's watchable. There's dialogue.
It's mind-boggling that this movie exists, and you have to watch it.
It's the funniest thing is that, fun fact, at the Maverick Theater, I used to go see Night of the Living Dead play like every year with me and my buddy. Well, at Christmas time, they have Martians, Santa Claus Saves the World from Martians
Oh
to
yeah, I've seen
play,
that.
and they have Plan 9 from Outer Space to play.
Oh.
And I just thought, how and why? And they advertise it when you watch Night of the Living Dead. The host will say, it's a bad play, Plan 9. It's not worth it. Don't. It gets sold out every year, but don't go. It's so bad. The actors are great, but the dialogue is horrible. And it's from the cheesiness of the flying saucers having a freaking wire, a shiny wire
Yes,
hanging on the top.
but that's the thing is like, I see that and even though I know it's bad, but I kind of don't mind it. I'm like, oh yeah, this is charming. It's like you did it, like you did something, and it looks stupid, but it's kind of funny.
My friend said it best because there's a line from the pilot. It goes, well, it's shaped like a giant cigar, the UFO. And I'm like, wait, we saw it again. Does that look like a cigar?
It doesn't look like a cigar at all.
At one point, it looks like a giant boob with the metal ring around it. Mm-hmm. There's a frozen one in space. I'm like, oh, that's the mothership. Okay. Just make a nipple on top of it. Why not?
Yeah, let's get a little silver boob. We'll just pop that nip on there.
That's the beginning of 69, Plan 69
That's
from
Planet
Outer
69
Space.
from Outer Space. There you go. The one thing I will say, I hope they keep from Plan 69 from Outer Space is that all of the aliens do the Wakanda salute, which is that's ahead of the time. They did. I've noticed. I was like,
wow.
Did Stan Lee take this from Plan 9 from Outer Space, put it in the Black Panther comics, and then it became an iconic thing?
It was done before Marvel for sure. It was really hot, and I didn't even notice. Thanks for noticing that. All the aliens stopped to praise each other. Wakanda forever, and then they did their
Wakanda salute.
You know what? Those aliens were the best actors.
Yes.
The best. Had to be.
They were far and away the best actors in the movie. I think, I'll say the top actor for me is still the pilot was surprisingly good. Like I could see him being in other stuff, and Tor Johnson was good because he had to have probably the hardest part of the whole movie.
His line was, I know, boy, girl. He's like, I big boy, I know. English was his first language, but they didn't even try and redo his line when he says, I'm gonna go knock around. I go clunk around. And I go, what do you say? Knuckle around? It's like so I'm telling you, it's done in one scene, done in one shot, and you know what? It makes me want to make a better movie. And that's what movies should do. They should do.
Exactly.
They make people want to go, I could do better. Lloyd Kaufman saw that, goes, I could do better. He made Toxic Avengers. And I love Lloyd Kaufman.
Beautiful.
You know, toxic trauma for life, man. And they're supposed to be gory and cheesy and bad. They're not supposed to be serious.
So this is actually a good question to close on. So this is sort of a flip of what I usually ask. But I've always wanted to see some trauma movies because I've had comics who've worked on trauma and people who I know who are huge trauma fans. And I know it's very much in that sort of like Roger Corman-y vein of like it's a deliberately B movie. Where, if anybody wants to watch a trauma film, where are some places you recommend they should start? Should they go Toxic Avenger first or go somewhere else?
I would say, because, things are so well done now with footage, I would say Poltergeist.
Okay.
Night of the Living Zombie Chicken, I think it's called Poltergeist. And it's gory, it's funny, but because I saw the documentary on it where they flew in a lot of fans to go see that movie, to be a part of that movie while it was being filmed. And it was so well done in an abandoned, I think it was a abandoned McDonald's they filmed it at. But when you watch it, it looks like a lively restaurant and the effects are great. But if you don't like zombie stuff, which is rare, watch Toxic Avengers Part 1 just for the sheer fact of like how a low-budget movie can be made into a magnificent multi-million-dollar fucking franchise. Because that's really what it was. It was a budget movie that made people go, wow, this is disgusting and fun. I want more. And that's what really started the whole, because Toxie is basically like Superman and Spider-Man. Their type of talk. Toxic Avenger guy with the mop. There's nothing evil about him. He looks like a disgusting, deformed human, but when he talks, they're like, wow, that's what Superman would say. That's what Spider-Man would say. And then he rips someone's arms off and he kills them with his own arms. It gets real disgusting, like a comic book. So, because that's sheer violence, but Poltergeist was so well done, dude. Just so many chicken zombies. You know, I'm telling you, like these type of movies are gems because you take it for what it is, a killer zombie with boobs, you know, type of movie. You're not supposed to take it seriously at all.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I'm gonna check that out.
very fuck yeah.
I'll find out where to go. Very fuck yeah. Frankie, thanks for making me watch Plan 9 from Outer Space again. I never thought I was gonna watch it again after I watched it in high school for a bad movie night we did, and I'm so glad that I finally did. It brought a lot of joy to my afternoon.
Yeah, dude, that's what it's all about. Weird shit that's like gonna make you think, huh? Why did they do that?
Yeah.
Why?
If you like Frankie, by the way, you should listen to his podcast, Whatever the Fuck Ever. I was a guest on there a little while ago. It was a great podcast. It was very fun. Where else can they find you on the internet, Frankie?
I'm an agent for Frank Anselmo, who's on the Pack Theater a lot. Check me out, Frankie Estrella at Facebook. And on Instagram, LORDKNARF. It's Lord, and then my first name backwards, Frank. Lord Narf, I like to pronounce it. And yeah, just good times all around on the SoundClouds, Whatever the Fuck Ever podcast. Jay Light is hilarious. Talks about his Texas love. It's just amazing all around. I learn more about stand-up than anyone else probably.
Here's how Texan I am. I had barbecue for breakfast this morning. I'm not even in Texas right now. I still found some.
That's fucking awesome, dude. Just have
great.
it.
I'm in Lake. Obviously you can't tell based on my background. This is my road background for those of you watching on YouTube.
Nice.
But I'm in Lake Elsinore right now, and I went and had breakfast at a barbecue place. They did a California burrito, but instead of having carne asada in there, they had barbecue tri-tip.
Holy fuck.
And it was
in
an
the
amazing
morning?
combo.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Chopped up. Nice.
It was beautiful. Check out if you're ever in the area, listeners. It's Jack's Barbecue Shack. They do it right.
Shit, I want that shit now, dude. I want that Uber to me. Uber Eats, man.
Maybe they'll listen and maybe they'll sponsor and we can get you some burritos.
Yes, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. You can find me at Jay on Twitter and Instagram, jlightcomedy.com for show dates, live at Chirp and Turf every week in Los Angeles. And thanks again, Frankie. It's been a pleasure to have you on, and go watch Plan 9.
Love you, man. Can't wait to see you again, bro. Be safe.
Love you, bud. This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.